How do I make this not hurt?
Oh, it's so hard. It's really nice. I give up. Hello, my name is Nahre Soul. I'm a classically trained pianist composer, and I spent the last 30 days teaching myself how to play the guitar. Alberti bass is really difficult. Honestly, I'm not even sure where to start. There's so much I want to share about things that I've learned about the guitar from a pianist perspective and show you all how far I was able to get.
I guess this is the octave, the reach of the guitar player.
In this video, I'm going to cover 7 things that I picked up while learning the guitar. And at the end of the video, I will share a full performance of a piece I wrote during this time for the guitar. And you're in for a treat because I have a very, very special guest who dropped by the studio. Yvette Young came by and she gave me some amazing pointers that really helped me get through these last days of practicing the guitar.
You're the first person that I've played guitar for.
Okay, let's see if I could tune this. Point number 1. This is a very physically hard instrument. It's rough on the fingertips, but also just this position of holding, I'm sure I'm making all kinds of postural mistakes, but still, there's something quite unnatural about it compared to, I think, the piano. Do all guitarists go through this pain? I don't remember going through pain learning the piano. I don't know about this. My finger hurts. Just doesn't feel right. I'm frustrated.
How do I make this not hurt?
I also didn't know that it's a thing for guitarists to have calluses.
Hey, I have calluses for a reason, so you just gotta, these are bad right now because I haven't played in a while. Bad? What do you mean
Like,
bad? They're just like pathetic.
And my wrist. I don't like that. No good.
The only structure I gave myself was to try to learn a phrase or two at the ends of practice sessions, and here's the first one that I learned.
It's harder. I practiced about 10 to 30 minutes a day. Honestly, some days, maybe even 5 minutes. I really didn't want to push myself further than that because I didn't want this to be an exercise that's a really rigorous challenge, but something that I can add to my schedule as it is right now. The next point, it helped me a lot to think more in terms of intervals and relative movement rather than understanding where each note is. Being a pianist, at first, I wanted to learn how to play the C major scale, and it took me a whole session to figure it out. Look how strange that looks like. Whereas on the piano, you just play every white key, and you could do it like this, or you could use your thumb, and you will find C major so easily. So for example, if I'm here, I don't know where C or G or F is just from the get-go, but I know in relation to these notes, C is a half step below, so I'm gonna move this way. And from here, if I wanna go down a fifth, I know a fifth is like that shape. And then I find my next chord. I was doing a lot of this, so I'm heavily relying on, I would say, 3 main intervals. First, the interval of the 4th, because obviously it's tuned this way. Then the 5th, so I'm constantly thinking, okay, do I want to go up a 5th or down a 5th? And I know it's that shape. And then the octave, which is similar to the 5th, but 2 strings apart. And it's different in the upper strings because of that 3rd, which always throws me off. Or interesting. Moving on to point number 3. Related to the last point, I find that chord progressions that have 4ths and 5ths work very naturally on the guitar because of the tuning. So for example, progression like that, especially with how easy it is to maneuver down fourths and fifths, it works so naturally on the guitar.
For this reason alone, I understand why the guitar is such a natural songwriting instrument compared to the piano, where these bass lines don't have a consistent shape. Notice that black to white keys are constantly changing. I know this is not ideal, but I actually really love the sound of this without an amp. Just not in terms of sound production or anything, but there's something really nice about it to just sit in a room, play something rather quietly. I don't know. I really appreciate this. I think I made the most progress during the first week, after which progress was a little more difficult. Okay, so I know this is a guitar video, but I don't want to set up today. I actually didn't want to even pick up the guitar today because I had a pretty lousy day. Today I decided to show up anyway because if there's anything I learned from learning the piano, it's to show up and even just do a little bit. So I told myself I'm just going to do 2 minutes. And it's been 10 minutes and I think I'll do a little more. I have an little idea for a piece that's going to use more of my right hand. I just need to find a way to do less of this, do less moving, because I really do want to play, or at least write, a little something that is complete. So, wish me luck.
During this time, I did read some of your comments on the post that I made on my Instagram. That was really helpful. And I started to be a little more mindful of things like posture and something called the caged system. Put these fingers here and then you bar. What? What? Okay, nice. You bar this. Jeez.
I really struggled with this.
I give up. Okay, never mind. I came back. See the A form. No, I actually really do give up for today. What I gathered from the cage system is that it's very useful to help you understand where the same pitch occurs throughout the neck. And I focused on 3 strings at a time. So C, and I was doing this sort of thing where I just play the leading tone to the C again. You can find a C major chord using the open A string position, but at a different point. So going back to C, using my knowledge of the octaves, I know that the next C will be here. Yes. So then using the A position, so C, A, G, oh, that's so hard. And then C, A, G, E. The last position is a D. This is how it helped me, just from a simple Google search, to just understand a little more about the neck.
I know this is incomplete, so maybe you all can help me in the comments to better understand this system.
Let's move on to the 4th point. I do think that some of my piano technique is transferring over to the guitar because I've spent over 2 decades concentrating on finger dexterity and just developing a sensation in the tips of my fingers in relation to what I'm hearing. If I pluck the string this way, I can make a sound, whereas if I pluck the string too hard, that's not the sound I want. So I'm just using my ears to guide me through this process.
And now, by day 23, I managed to write a little piece, and here I am playing it for Yvette.
Beautiful. It got all jazzy at the end.
Well, I was nervous.
Me too.
Any tips?
Okay, the fact that you could write all that and fingerpick and have that dexterity in 3 weeks is way farther than I would have gone. I feel like if I was playing for 3 weeks, definitely your piano expertise shows because you have a lot of finger dexterity and limb independence, which is honestly like I taught myself. So for me,
So cool.
like piano, basically like what I was doing here is like I could do that on guitar. So I think an instrument where you're thinking polyphonically, where your left hand is harmonizing your right and vice versa, like that really, I see that really translating to the way you play. Like you're using the lower notes to bring out like your left hand accompaniment and your right hand is playing like the lead melody.
Yeah, I was
right?
thinking about that.
So that's a very pianist way of approaching guitar, which is honestly super familiar to me.
This was so fascinating to me because Yvette also has a background in classical piano, and that translates to her guitar playing. She's known for her virtuosic and unique guitar technique and writing style, so it was so cool to hear her talk about this in person. I'm going to include more clips of us throughout the video, but for now, let's move on to point number 5.
From a composer's perspective, I find that the ideas I come up with at the guitar are so different than what I come up with at the piano. I found it just so different to write for strings that ring. For example, this is the opening of the piece that I wrote. And I would never write something like that on the piano because it just sounds a lot more pale. Of course, you could make certain notes ring a little more, but I think it's more natural on the guitar where there's just a little more texture so that it doesn't feel like it needs an extra part.
Before we move on, I want to give a special shout out to Fender, who sent me their Stratocaster guitar and a Princeton Reverb amp when they found out that I'm doing this project. This is my first time ever holding an electric guitar, so this novelty factor actually added a lot of fun and excitement to getting started.
Moving on to point number 6.
This one feels a little obvious, but I have to mention it. I realized that the same practice concepts that I learned in classical piano apply to guitar learning as well.
The way I practice is so similar to how I used to memorize like concertos and stuff. Like I could play the piece, but transitions are where like jumping from chord to chord, that's where I'd struggle, right? So I view it as like spot treatment. So I'll go through different parts of it and just treat that spot and just practice it a billion times until it's second nature. I think true mastery of a piece comes when, number one, you can play it at any speed. So another thing I would say is like the evenness of it. Like there's a lot of rubato in there that feels beautiful and organic, but like definitely like practice it to a metronome first and then introduce that vibrato so it feels more like less like hesitation and more like feel, like pocket.
On the piano, I'm just used to things flowing in a certain way because I have control of the instrument.
Yeah.
But here, I just feel so limited. Even the unevenness, I hear it and I'm like, what is going on? And the transitions, I can't quite get it, and then all of this rubato is unintentional.
Yeah.
It was really great to be reminded of the simple basics. She told me, hey, turn on a metronome, practice it, make sure you know how to play it. And so Yvette really put me into place here.
If you want to get to like extra credit, like bonus zone, I would say think about which notes ring out and then which ones you can maybe like play more like staccato-y. Like you could play around with for feel, like adding bends, like bending into the note instead of, or sliding into the note.
Oh,
That's an additional technique you can learn. Like
also
versus,
vibrato.
yeah. Doesn't that sound like like kind of dead? But then if you're like, like you can like do something like that, it just feels like even more expressive.
I still can't believe that we were able to hang out with the guitar, and I think she's incredible. If you don't already follow her, check out her material. I'll put everything in the description. Now moving on to point number 7. In light of some things Yvette showed me, I started to pay attention to what happens after you play a note. I have yet to figure out vibrato. What I did manage to change here, as Yvette suggested, was to add a little slide. I think that sounds better. Also, just leaning more into the sliding sound and embracing that guitar quality, I think is very useful. So now, let me finally play you a piece that I wrote for the guitar, the result of my 30-day experiment. I hope you enjoy it. All right, there you have it. Let me know in the comments where you think I should take my guitar journey next from here. Thank you again to Yvette for your wonderful visit and your awesome tips. Thank you to Fender for sending me this guitar and the amp. And I'll see you very soon in the next video.